right hand, left hand inside right, thumbs lightly touching, tongue on the roof of your mouth just behind your top teeth, linking your crown chakra to the rest of your chakras and also dilating your nasal passages. In your first meditation, what I want you to do is I want you to breathe in on a 4 count with your stomach. 1, 2, 3, 4, just rather. Just relax. A lot of times we have a tendency, I don't know about you guys, I have kind of a big belly sometimes, and so I get really nervous about the idea of just letting it go, but that's what we're doing. We're just kind of relaxing and just breathing in naturally, almost like when we're a baby and we first come out and we take that big breath before we cry. So we're going to breathe in, 4 seconds, 1, 2, 3, 4, hold for 16 seconds. Again, tongue on the roof of your mouth, 16 seconds. You can do 10, 11, 12, that's fine. And then when you breathe out, you're going to breathe out twice as long as you breathed in. You're going to breathe out in 8. So in for 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, hold for 16, 1 to 16, and then out for 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. On 8, you're just going to squeeze your stomach in. So in, hold, out, squeeze in. So what that does is that it's a very good way for you to have a chance to focus, and it allows you to focus on your breathing rather than your thoughts. Each time you do one of those cycles, it's 1. Try to get to a cycle of 10. So I'm going to breathe in for 4, hold for 16, breathe out for 8, that's 1. I'm going to do that 10 times. At the 10th time, I don't care if we're sitting in meditation for 3 hours, all you have to do is get to 10, and then after that, just breathe normally. Anything after that, you're going to get diminishing returns at first. When you're chanting Namu, the way that we're going to do it is that you're going to take, and you can see there's an angle on the edge of your thumb right here. When we have our hands in Gasho, that angle is going to rest just below my breastbone, right on my sternum. If I'm up like this, it's uncomfortable. I'm down like this, and just feel as if it's coming directly out of your heart through the tips of your fingers. This is called Gasho. It unifies the yin and the yo, the yin and the yang, the male and the female together. And then it projects all of our positiveness from our hearts. So when we're chanting Namu Myoho Renge Kyo, we imagine that we're giving all that energy to the universe in a bright and happy manner. So we're chanting up Na that way. Now when we chant in this style, Namu Myoho Renge Kyo, we're going to do it in a single breath. And I'm actually going to adjust from what we've previously been doing. I want Na and Mu to be 1. Because in essence, what we're saying is, I honor, I take refuge. So we don't split the 2 syllables up. So it would be like this. Namu. Right? We're not going to be sharp. Namu. Just Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. So it's just like our previous meditation breath, except that we're producing a sound with it. But it's still one single breath and a kyo. And then we breathe in. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. And it's going to be unique to each of us. Those of you who've been here recently have gotten to experience this Edo-style chanting. Everybody's going to start out at Namu, but after about 1 time around, everybody's going to be at a different spot, and that's okay. All I want you to focus on is your own breath and your own chanting of Namu Myoho Renge Kyo in your single breath. You might have a big deep breath. Kaishin may have a big deep breath. He might be able to do it for a long time. Nathan might have a shorter breath, so he's going to do it for a shorter period of time. And it's all, those of you who've been here, it's all going to create this beautiful tapestry of sound that's going to allow us to focus and to be able to connect with the myo, the sublime whole Dharma. Okay. Our last meditation will just be what's called shikantaza, just sitting. All I want you to do is put the tongue in your mouth and you just breathe however you breathe. If you breathe shallow, breathe shallow. If you breathe deep, breathe deep. All I want you to do is kind of relax and kind of just bask in the glow of what it was like to chant the Daimoku, and feel that feeling for yourself, because it's not anything that I can convince you of. It's only something that you yourself can experience. And again, if I can counsel you, set up a regular practice. Do this every day. It doesn't have to be for long. If it's just like, you take just 10 quick, nice deep breaths, and you chant the Daimoku 1 to 10 times, that's fine. And then a few deep breaths, or just, anything that you can do to first start having a daily practice, even if it's just like you set up a spiritual place and you just remember to change the water. I did that once for about 6 months when I first got to the practice. I was like, hey, if I could just remember to change the water, then at least once a day I'm thinking Buddha. I'm like, Buddhist water. And then it got to be where I say, okay, I go to my altar and I'd be like 3 times. Right? And now, I'm to the point where I do my Shodagyo every day. There was a point in my life when I did services and I put in like an hour every morning and I faded out. I couldn't do it. But the importance of the practice is in its use, right? Without study and practice, there is no reason. So today is Tatsuno Kuchi persecution. This is one of Nichiren Shonen's many persecutions. And our esteemed president is going to give you the history, and then Kaishin will tell you, will read the Gosho, the letter that Nichiren Shonen that Nichiren Shonen wrote. One of the beautiful things that we have that a lot of other religions don't get to have is that our founder was a very literate man who wrote tons and tons of letters to his followers, and the followers all kept them. So we actually have his real words and what he actually said. So it's kind of cool.
So a couple of weeks ago, we celebrated the Matsubateyatsu persecution, which was when a mob essentially attacked Nichiren's home in Matsubateyatsu, which was just kind of on the outskirts of the capital city of Kamakura, and burned it down. Well, he survived that persecution, of course, and later, rebuilt his home there in Matsubateyatsu. In the year 1271, there was apparently really bad drought in Japan. Crops were failing, and the shogunate asked one of the priests of, and can you remind me which sect was it? Was it a
Jodo?
Jodo. So the Jodo-shu sect of Buddhism, to do great ceremonies, and this priest said, I guarantee that after my ceremonies are complete, there'll be great rains in Japan. It'll be great. No more flooding, or no more drought, I promise. And after several attempts at this priest's ceremonies in the Jodo-shu school of Buddhism, there was still a drought. And in fact, Nichiren Shonen at the time said, well, don't put your trust in this particular priest. There's no way that he can end this drought with his special ceremonies. You're putting your faith in something wrong, something erroneous. And of course, this kind of ticked off the shogunate, and even though Nichiren Shonen's words were proven true, that despite all of his best efforts, this particular priest from Jodo-shu failed in bringing about any kind of relief for Japan from the drought. Regardless of Nichiren being correct, he was still punished by the shogunate.
So the irony of the situation was he actually was like, if you can make it rain in 7 days, I'll become your disciple and I will completely give up preaching anything. Mm-hmm. But if it doesn't rain in 7 days, you get to become my disciple. That was the thing, is he was willing to put his money where his mouth was. He was just like, if you can do this, I will totally give up preaching the Lotus Sutra, I will follow you. But if you can't, you have to just follow me. And so he didn't, and he actually tried for 30 days to make it rain, and then eventually like a huge gale came in, but not rain.
Mm-hmm. Which only made things drier and hurt the crops even more. So at this point, the shogun had Nichiren brought before essentially the regional military governor. His last name is Saemon. First name?
Saemon. I don't remember his name.
But it was, so regional governor Sayman. And the regional governor Sayman, again, was a very devout follower of this other priest and decided, well, you've caused enough trouble already for us. Not only are you undermining the Jodo Shu school of Buddhism, but you're also undermining our shogun, who's a follower of this particular priest. So to the shogunate of Japan at that time, that was tantamount to treason. And so they determined that the only appropriate punishment for Nichiren was to have him beheaded.
But the situation was that this particular guy decided that, not the shogun.
Mm.
The shogunate was very careful about dealings with anyone that it considered magical, and they kind of looked at Nichiren Shonin as this very crazy and magical figure that possibly, was touched by the gods. They weren't really sure. So he didn't really have permission to do this. So he decides, okay, we're gonna do this before anybody really realizes it. We're gonna take him and execute him. So also during this time period, sympathizers to Nichiren sent people quickly to the shogunate to tell them, by the way, they're taking him to kill him.
And in fact, one of Nichiren's followers was also the samurai class. And he rushed to Kamakura on the 12th day of the 9th month, so hence September 12th is the official day, and essentially went with Nichiren, as Nichiren was being taken from where he was held in Kamakura, or just outside Kamakura, to the Tatsunokuchi beach, which was the execution ground.
So what they did is they put him on top of a horse, they tied him up, and this samurai said, Sensei, I want to lead your horse. If you're going to die, I'm willing to die with you, but it's like, I don't want to leave you. You're my teacher and I love you. So on the way to Tatsunokuchi Beach, they go to pass what's called Hachiman Shrine, right? He's kind of one of the biggest gods in Japan, who in the Lotus Sutra, all of the gods and spirits all say that they will defend the practitioner of the Lotus Sutra from harm. So,
and this is actually one of the kind of, in a weird way, almost kind of most humorous parts of the Nichiren story that I remember, is that so they were about passing the shrine of Hachiman, and again, Nichiren is kind of tied up to his horse, and he said, well, look, can we stop here for a moment? I want to pay homage at this shrine. And again, Hachiman was an old Shinto god, and so he stops by the shrine.
And everybody thinks that he's gonna, be contritious and be like, oh, I'm gonna die, blah, blah, blah.
I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. But instead, Nichiren goes up to the shrine of Hachiman, who was also, by the way, the patron god of war. Exactly, he was the god of the samurai class. And he goes up to the shrine, and instead of saying, "Oh, Hachiman, save me," he actually says, "Hachiman, you're a liar. You know, in the Lotus Sutra, you said that as a deity, you would save and protect those of who follow the Lotus Sutra and who expound the Buddhist Lotus Sutra. And here you are, I'm an expounder of the Lotus Sutra, and apparently I'm going to die. So, essentially,
he says, if you don't help me out, I'm going to tell Buddha you're going to get in trouble.
Yeah.
And I don't want you to get in trouble, so you should probably do your job.
Yeah. So, of course, this didn't endear Nichiren to his captors at all.
But it definitely impressed all the samurai that were there, because everyone was like, wait a minute, who yells at a god to tell them that they're wrong? Like, who does that? I mean, and you have to imagine in Japanese society, you go along to get along. The nail that stands up is hammered. So here's this very crazy individual, very, very individualistic, making a lot of noise in a society that doesn't like you to make a lot of noise.
So, in any event, he's put back on the horse, and they take him to Tatsunokuchi Beach. And by this point in time, they actually traveled over the night, and at this point in time, it's slightly before morning. And then he's knelt down. The samurai who was in charge of his executioner, as it were, he's kneeled down. His executioner has the sword at the ready, and then reports differ somewhat in this, but the translation that I saw said, just as the executioner was to behead Nichiren, there was a bright flash of light in the sky that immediately scared the hell out of everybody, especially the executioner. Not Nichiren. Nichiren was praying, he was reciting the Odaimoku, and was praying, pretty much ready to die. And again, this great big flash of light in the sky, and at that point in time, the military, the police, essentially said, okay, well, we can't kill him at this point. Like this is a terrible, terrible moment.
And Nichiren supposedly, according to the story, when the light flashes and the swordsman gets scared to cut his head off, he looks over his shoulder and he's like, quick, cut off my head before you get in trouble. He didn't want him to get in trouble. He didn't want him to get in trouble with his master. He's like, well, you're supposed to cut off my head. Like, don't get in trouble. Like, do your job. And in this time period, when the samurai friend of his, which we'll find out in the Gosho, is willing to give his life, he's like, no, he's like, I'm lucky. It's like, I've given my life in a million different lifetimes for all sorts of stupid things. I've given it up for, a cart. I've given it up for a wife, a husband, a child, a this or that. But when have I ever gotten to do that for the Lotus Sutra? Don't feel sorry for me. This is a great opportunity for me. I'm not afraid at all.
And so we're today with Tatsunokuchi, we're recognizing the good fortune and really protection that was afforded to our founding Nichiren by saving his life at that point in time. Now, as a little epilogue to this, although his life was spared, he was still considered by many to be kind of an enemy of the state. So he was still held captive, and in fact, given to the, I don't know if it was Seimon, who was in charge of Sado Island at that point in time, but he was given to him to be dealt with without being killed, and we'll learn later was exiled to Sado Island, which was a very unpleasant island.
Lots of snow and stuff. I mean, anyone who was sent there, that's where they sent all the political prisoners, and they always died. So we have another holiday based around that.
Yes, there's a different.
So now let's hear from Nichiren Shonin himself. Right?
Shijo Kinjo Dono Gosho Shoku. Tatsu no Kuchi incident. Well, when the incident occurred on the 12th, you came to Tatsu no Kuchi with me, and not only that, but you intended to commit harakiri to follow me in death. All I can say is, how wondrous. There may have been times in past lives when I, Nichiren, sacrificed my life for the sake of wife and children, property, and retainers. I may have cast away in the mountains, in the oceans, in the rivers, on the shores, or on the streets. However, if all those instances of casting away the body and facing persecutions were not done for the sake of the Lotus Sutra or the Daimoku, then they did not contribute to awakening. If they did not contribute to awakening, then the oceans and rivers where I cast myself away were not the Buddha land. This time I faced exile and the death penalty as a practitioner of the Lotus Sutra. I was exiled to Ito and received the death penalty at Tatsunokuchi. Tatsunokuchi in Soshu is where Nichiren cast away his life. It should not be considered inferior to the Buddha land. This is due to the Lotus Sutra. The sutra says, there is only one teaching, that is, the one vehicle in the Buddha worlds of the 10 quarters. That is what I'm talking about. The one vehicle referred to as the Lotus Sutra. There is no other teaching in the Buddha lands of the 10 directions but the Lotus Sutra. That is why the sutra says, except when the Buddhas teach expediently. If so, then where Nichiren faced persecution is the Buddha land. Japan is the Saha world. Sagami province is in Japan. Katsei is in the Sagami province. Tatsunokuchi is in Katsei. Where Nichiren's life remains should be called the land of tranquil light due to the Lotus Sutra.
So for me, this inspired me to really think about, what is the basis of Buddhism that we start with, which is the Four Noble Truths. And I don't know if everyone remembers them, but the Four Noble Truths are thus: the truth of suffering, the truth of the cause of suffering, the truth of escape from suffering, and the path that leads to escape from suffering. And until recently, I thought suffering meant physical pain and annoyance and bothersome things and dissatisfaction and all of these things. I was wrong. That's just life. We're always going to experience those things. Your body's always in a constant change, right? It's constantly in flux. You're going to feel pain one day and pleasure another day. If you sit in meditation, you're going to have days that everything goes great and days that you're struggling all the time. But the struggle is just part of life. So what is suffering? And so my sensei, Kanjin Sensei, the abbot of this temple, said, read the Nirvana Sutra. And so I want to read to you what the Buddha says in the Nirvana Sutra, the last one that he preached, that he felt was the gleanings of the harvest of the Lotus Sutra. What he told Kasyapa was really suffering. Kasyapa then said to the Buddha, world-honored one, now for the first time I understand the distinction between what Maras preach, ego preaches, and what Buddha preaches. As a result, I feel that I'm able to enter into the deep significance of the Buddha's Dharma. The Buddha praised Kasyapa, saying, excellent, excellent, good man. I see that this distinction has been clarified for you. This I call wise. Good man, what is commonly called, quote, suffering or dukkha does not refer to the so-called first noble truth. Why is this? Because if the usual use of, quote, suffering referred to the, quote, noble truth of suffering, it would mean that all cows, sheep, mules, horses, and even beings in hell would have, quote, noble truths. Good man, if someone did not understand that the profound realm of the Tathagata is that of a subtle and mysterious Dharma body, in which he abides permanently and immutably, that person might say, he is a body that eats, not a Dharma body. Such a person does not understand either the virtue or the majesty of the Tathagata. This is what I call suffering. Why? Because it is out of ignorance that a person regards what is proper, the Dharma, as what is improper, adharma, and regards what is improper as proper. It should be understood that whoever makes mistakes like this will surely fall into one of the unfortunate realms, as they try to transmigrate through samsara. And samsara is really considered the whirlpool of existence that's constantly pulling us in to our ego, that's constantly keeping us attached to everything. This will only increase their bonds to the cycle of rebirth, and they will have to endure many hardships. When on the other hand, one is able to realize the fact that the Tathagata abides permanently and immutably, then by merely hearing the sound of the two words abides permanently, even once that person will be directly reborn in the heavens. Later, at the time of their liberation, they will be able to witness the fact that the Tathagata abides permanently and is immutable, and having attested this, they will say, in the past I had only heard about this, but now I have gained liberation and thereupon witnessed it myself. Because I was ignorant of the ultimate reality, I continued to revolve in the cycle of birth and death seemingly with no end. But today I have finally achieved understanding. What they're talking about is this idea of the eternal Buddha. This idea that the Buddha nature resides in all beings, is accessible to all beings. Suffering is not being exposed to the Dharma. Suffering is going through life thinking that life is about all of these, oh, I gotta get this, I gotta do that, I gotta do this, getting caught up in our brains with this weird cycle of like, oh, you know, this is important, no wait, no, that's important, no wait, this is important, and never actually seeing our connection to the whole universe and the fact that every other being is just an extension of ourselves. So not being aware of the Buddha's Dharma is suffering. Because once you're aware of the Buddha's Dharma, all of a sudden, oh, my backache, and you're like, you know, this will pass, it's cool. This person's really, okay, let's get under my skin. It's a mirror for myself. Hey, look at me, there I am, I'm irritated right now, look at that. Having the Dharma means that I can cope with the things I thought was suffering before, which means that they're not the source of suffering. Right? Not having that understanding that everything's in flux, everything's in change, everything's changing, that's suffering. When one is understood in this way, they truly appreciate the implications of dukkha, of suffering, the benefits which are substantial. But in the absence of such understanding, no matter how diligent one's practice may be, there will be no benefit. This I call understanding suffering, or the noble truth of understanding suffering. But for individuals unable to cultivate understanding in this way, what they call, quote, suffering will not be the noble truth of suffering. The second noble truth of the causes of suffering denotes that what happens when genuine understanding of the genuine Dharma does not take place. It is when one accepts impure things, such as slaves, effectively taking what is improper and saying, this is the true Dharma. Vitiating the true Dharma prevents it from abiding for any length of time, and under these conditions, there will be no understanding of the natural conditions that are dharmata, of jiso, of things as they are. It is owing to that fundamental ignorance that one transmigrates through samsara, the whirlpool of existence, incurring much suffering and anxiety, unable to gain either rebirth in the heavens or liberation proper. One who fully realizes the true Dharma does not damage it, which means we can't break it. You know, there's no rule book that says how you can access the Dharma. You can't break it, you can't do it wrong. Right? We can use the Daimoku, Namu Renge Kyo, in a million different ways. You can't break it. I can use it when I'm mad. I can use it when I'm washing my dishes. I can use it in praise. I can use it to focus. I can use it to meditate. Whatever it is, I can't break it. For those who do not recognize the reasoning in the truth of how suffering is caused, the quote, true Dharma will not permanently abide. In every way, it will be a disappearing Dharma. Under these conditions, individuals will experience much pain and anguish in the process of transmigration, which continues for innumerable kalpa. If someone can succeed in recognizing that the Dharma that abides permanently in a way is no different from any other time or place, that I would call understanding the causes, or the noble truth of the causes of suffering. Not understanding that things just are, right? Accept Jiso, ultimate reality as it is. You know, we grow and we learn, and sometimes we fall down, and sometimes we get up. You know, this is all part of the process. It's only through struggle that we grow. But for the individual unable to cultivate understanding in this way, what are called the causes will not be the noble truth of the causes of suffering. The third noble truth is the destruction of suffering. If one diligently practices and studies the Dharma of emptiness, this will not do. This is what blew me away. This is Zen Buddhism. This is just sitting in meditation, being too focused on this concept of emptiness. The Buddha blows this out of the water right here. He says, if one diligently practices and studies the Dharma of emptiness, this will not do. Why? Because eliminating all dharmas also destroys all the true Dharma treasury of the Tathagata. We have to be human beings. We have to suffer the slings and arrows of life in order to truly understand what the Buddha Dharma is. Otherwise, it's not real. To practice and study like this, I call cultivating emptiness. I heard a really amazing term. They didn't use the term meditation at the Buddha's time. They called it bhavana. It means cultivating. And it was a direct reference to cultivating a field, right? That's what we're doing. Our minds, when we're doing this meditation, we're just cultivating the field so that it is fertile for the Buddha seed to develop, for our positive, skillful actions to bloom. That's all meditation is for. It's not to get rid of stuff. It's to make it fertile ground so that we're able to take the inspiration. We're able to be there for other beings, right? If one were to assert that there is a Tathagata Garbha, a thus come one, and even though it cannot be seen, it is capable of eliminating all the defilements, which is the point at which one comprehends it, then upon bringing forth this state of mind, by the conditions wrought by the single thought, one can attain freedom in all dharmas. That's a direct reference to Ichinen and Sanzen, the 3,000 existences in a single thought moment. The fact that we can go from hell mind, the worst mind possible, up to a Buddha mind, the best mind possible, like that, back and forth. We don't abide in any one of those places, right? So we can't even hold on to that, right? It's all changing. When I'm mad, oh, I can't stay mad forever because I know, like, I got some Buddha mind. When I'm up in that Buddha mind, I'm like, oh man, I know I'm not going to stay here all the time because I still got some hell mind and stuff to deal with, which is the fertile ground to allow me to find my highest potential. For one whose meditation focuses on non-self and empty quintessence is the hidden treasury of the Tathagata, however, there will be innumerable transmigrations and the incurring of suffering throughout. So when you forget that you're just a human being attached to the same things that everybody else is, that's when you start having problems. When you push it away, when you're like, oh, this is dirty. Oh, this is bad. Like, oh, that's not me. Like, when we don't accept these things for what they are, that's when we cause problems for ourselves. Those who do not approach practice in that way, despite the presence of the defilements within themselves, will find those defilements quickly eliminated. How could this be? It happens through the understanding of the Tathagata hidden treasury. which is Namu Myo Horenge Kyo. And this is what I call the noble truth of the destruction of suffering. Anyone who is able to practice the destruction of suffering in this way is a true disciple of mine. Anyone who is not able to practice in this way, I regard as someone cultivating emptiness, which does not lead to the noble truth of the destruction of suffering. The Buddha keeps making reference in the Nirvana Sutra back to the Lotus Sutra, and in the end, the container, according to Nichiren, of the Tathagata's hidden treasury is Namu Myo Horenge Kyo. It is taking refuge in the mysterious and sublime Dharma of the universe that is the Buddha himself, herself, itself, right? And that's how we directly connect to it. Whether it's the belief that it's coming to us directly as a faith-based thing, that we get that merit from the Buddha and that we're able to transfer it, whether or not we're the kind of person that doesn't believe in that sort of thing, and we look at more of like a Zen koan, that it's a phrase, it's a belief or a method that I cannot break apart intellectually, I just have to experience. Some of us, it may be that we need a mantra, that seems sort of magical, right? To help inspire us to believe that we've got something that we can expel demons or whatever is necessary. For some of us, we just need an aspirational way to focus. Just the sound alone is enough. So again, it's a tool that can't be broken. It can be used in a myriad of ways. That's why anybody can use it. It's accessible to everyone. And in the end, the fourth noble truth is the path that refers to the three jewels of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, and includes liberation, which is, for us, is chanting Namu Myo Horenge Kyo. It's sitting in meditation. It's living life. And in the end, that is the path that leads to the cessation of suffering, is the practice itself. That's enlightenment. It's not that it's some other place that we gotta go. It's not like it's this rarefied air that we're gonna float up on a freaking cloud, right? It's being here now. It's experiencing things as they are. I don't have to ascribe a thisness, a thusness, or a thatness to anything. I can just accept. I can accept that, okay, I may not be the most handsome person or the best person, or I may be the most handsome person or the best person. I just accept it as it is, and I move on, realizing that doesn't define me anything any more than anything else does. But in the end, the true source of the cessation of suffering is the practice and the spreading of the Dharma, of putting others before myself. And I think that's really cool. So this practice that we're going to do today, Shodaigyo, it's important. Use it. If you've got 10 minutes, do a 10-minute practice. 2 minutes, do a 2-minute practice. But use the tool to cessate your suffering. Let's do this. Right eye. Know this place where the stupa is erected is the place of enlightenment. Here the Buddhas attain Sambodhi. Here the Buddhas turn the wheel of the Dharma. Here the Buddhas entered into Parinirvana. Honor be. To our eternal master of the Dharma, Shakyamuni Buddha. Honor be to the great wisdom, the eternal Dharma, that equally benefits all, the one vehicle of Myoho Renge Kyo. Honor be to our founder, representing Yo-Yo, Nichiren, the great Bodhisattva. Please place your hands in full high Yo-E. Put your pamphlets down. Tongue in the roof of your mouth, shoulder to shoulder back. Relax. Feel as if your head is lifted as a balloon and your waist is sinking as if it's a boat. Jōshingyo, purification of mind, heart, and body. Place your hands and hold high Jolene, Cosmic Rahamitra. Jin Shingyo. Meditation on the sublime Dharma of Mule. of September 11th, 2001. For all those who lost their lives and all those who still suffer from physical and mental illness because of the delusions of those mired in hell mine. And for those deluded men and women, that they may someday quickly find the Buddha's Dharma, repent of their deluded actions and aspire to Bodhi. And for all the men and women around the world, that they may see reality truly as it is, reject hate of all kinds, and become Bodhisattvas. Higangyo, prayer. With reverence, we offer up the merits we have accumulated through the chanting of the Namu, so that in doing so, we may receive the greatest of compassion through the transcendental powers of the original Buddha. For all people, we uphold this universal Dharma teaching of equality that benefits all. We deeply vow to diligently strive for the improvement of both our societies and ourselves, as well as to diligently strive for the achievement of world peace. We pray that all people throughout the four corners of the world may return their lives to the eternal Buddha's pure land, through the wonderful Dharma of Myo Renge Kyo. Namu Renge Kyo. We pray that each and every family member, as well as our benefactors and our friends, all live in accordance with the true Dharma. We pray they all enjoy good health in both body and mind. May they increase their understanding of the Buddha's wisdom, expiate their past transgressions, do good deeds, and lead a virtuous life. May they learn to respect each other. We pray they embrace the correct practice of Buddhism, perform virtuous works, assiduously improve themselves, and achieve family happiness. May they all obtain the eternal peace and happiness. We pray that all beings, as well as myself, will awaken to the true nature of reality, which is the Buddha nature, and that we all will attain the enlightenment of the Buddha. We pray for those in sickness and distress: Issa Simmons, Carmen Laverne, Damian Reddick, Wendy Prevost, Jason Wellman, Jesse Schaefer, Lotus Meshi, David Mills, Gail Bull, Dave Watson, Beth Watson, Gabe Benitez, Victoria, Jesse Travis Burnham, Scoop, Lynn Bigelow, Jamie Lynn Woodside and her new son, Benjamin Woodside, and Mother Coleman. We pray for all of the deceased, for the spirits of our ancestors, for all those who have formed a relationship with the Buddha, and for all those who have not. May you all follow the benevolent life of the Tathagata. May you cross the ocean of suffering, reach the further shore, and attain Buddhahood. In memoriam, we remember Maria Valentine, Jean Knopp, Julia Petrikowski, Cheryl Sissy Jones, Stella the dog, Maggie Herman, Ming Chi, Elaine and Joe Winter, Jack Parker, Terry Paquin, Bill Mears Sensei, Aunt Barbara, Kazuko Jordan, Cheryl Cushman, and Patrick Scanlon. May the merits we have accumulated through this deep offering of prayer be distributed equally amongst all living beings. May we all attain the enlightenment of the Buddha. May all the Dharma realms equally benefit all. Namu Myo Renge Kyo. Segangyo. Sentient beings are innumerable. I vow to save them all. Our defilements are inexhaustible. I vow to quench them all. The Buddha's teachings are immeasurable. I vow to know them all. The way of the Buddha is unexcelled. I vow to attain the path sublime. With this body, until I attain Buddhahood, I will uphold my faith in the Lotus Sutra. Namu Myo Renge Kyo. Dry eye. Thank you all very much. Wonderful job. Next week, we will go back to using the drum and the moke show. We've had 3 weeks of kind of getting to experience the Edo style of chanting with that kind of tapestry of voices. And I feel like next week would be really nice for us all to kind of lose ourselves again in kind of that flow of all of us doing the same speed and the same rhythm. All right. So again, this is part of our learning how to use our tool in various ways. And now that the candles are up, I'll turn the fan back on because it's hot.
And we have homemade peach turnovers and tea.
Oh, and fresh raspberries. We have fresh raspberries too. Thank you, Joe, for the fresh raspberries.
First week of schools.
Let me see. I'm sure it's here. We don't throw anything away.
It was down in your office.
It was down in my studio? Okay, then it's down there. I'll go
No, I
down.
couldn't.
Renee, I'm sorry, I forgot to show you about the incense offering.
Before services started.
Yeah, there's a list of names.
Okay, yeah, it's pretty much during the Odaimoku, whether we chant it in the Edo style or in the drum. Usually during that point in time, either Kaishin or myself will sort of start off and then kind of indicate to people when they can go up.